I find myself sitting here in this wretched trench, quill in hand, though I fear my own words will falter beneath the weight of all I have seen. I must write, for to keep silent is to let despair gnaw at the soul unchecked. Yet I dare not tell you the full measure of the horrors, for I cannot bear the thought of you weeping over my fate. The air itself seems alive with death. A thick, choking presence that clings to the throat, settles in the hair, and refuses to leave. Even as I write, the ground shakes with the distant rumble of artillery, and the once familiar sky is shrouded in smoke, a canvas blackened by fire and sorrow. The silence, Mother, is the cruelest companion of all. Between the bursts of gunfire and the hellish roar of shells, there are moments of uncanny quiet, when the world seems to hold its breath. In those moments, I hear everything. The moans of the wounded, the rustling of rats through the mud, the distant sobs of lads barely older than boys. Courage becomes a fragile thing, fluttering like a candle in the wind, and yet I cling to it as one clings to a lifeline. For without it, I am nothing but a shell, wandering through a land that has forgotten mercy. I have grown accustomed to the mud, Mother, though I do not love it. It clings to my boots, my uniform, my very skin, and it is a constant reminder that I am buried alive, not beneath earth, but beneath the weight of war itself. My rations are meager, yet I savor them with gratitude, if only to remember what it is to eat without fear of the next bombardment. Water is scarce and often foul. Every sip tastes of iron and despair. I have seen comrades fall from exhaustion, from fever, from fear itself, and yet somehow the living persist, trudging onward through this endless mire, as if hope alone were sufficient armor. I think often of you, Mother. I remember the mornings in our kitchen, the scent of bread baking, the clink of the teacups, the warmth of sunlight spilling through the windows. That memory sustains me more than any ration or comrade. I picture your smile, and for a fleeting moment, the mud and blood, the screams and smoke, fade into the distance. I dare not let myself linger too long in such thoughts, for longing can be as dangerous as the shells above, and I must remain vigilant if I am to survive another day. Yet there are small mercies, Mother. A bird alighting briefly upon the barbed wire, a shaft of sunlight piercing the smoke, a comrade's quiet chuckle in the darkness. These remind me that life persists even here, and that perhaps there remains a world worth returning to. It is these moments I cling to, as one might clutch a drifting rope in a storm-tossed sea. I write these words with trembling hands, hoping that ink and paper might serve as a bridge across the vast, cruel gulf that separates us. Pray for me, Mother, as I pray for you. Remember me not only as a soldier entrenched in this nightmare, but as your boy who once laughed in the garden, who ran barefoot across the fields, who held your hand and trusted that the world was safe. That boy, though scarred by the sights of war, still resides within me, and I fight each day to keep him alive. Yours ever faithfully, Edward. I find myself again compelled to write, though I wonder whether these words will ever reach you, and if they do, whether they will bear any sense of what it is to live each day in this wretched place. The days blend into one another, a grim repetition of mud, blood, and the distant roar of artillery. Yet somehow, even in this chaos, a strange camaraderie blooms among us lads, forged in fear and the shared understanding that only one of us may see tomorrow. We rise before dawn. Mother, if such a thing as rising can be said of men who crawl from the fetid depths of the trench, Boots sucked into the mire, uniforms soaked with rain and the sweat of restless nights. The air is cold, biting at the skin, and our breath hangs like smoke in the dim light. We speak little, for words seem frivolous here, yet glances and quiet nods convey more than speech ever could. A touch on the shoulder, a shared morsel of bread, a brief joke in whispered tones. These are the threads that hold us together, fragile as they may be. I am learning the strange rhythm of fear, Mother. 1 minute, I am laughing with the lads over some triviality, a memory of home, a shared jest about the absurdity of it all. And in the next, the earth shakes, the world convulses, and a shell tears through the air, leaving only fire, smoke, and the hollow sound of despair. We cling to each other, trembling, and yet we march onward, for there is no other course. Death is everywhere, yet life persists stubbornly, like weeds in a blasted field. At night, when the bombardment ceases and a grim quiet falls over the trenches, I lie awake and think of you. I imagine your hands, weathered yet tender, your voice calling me to supper, your laughter filling the house with warmth. In these stolen moments of memory, I find a fragile solace, a fleeting reprieve from the relentless terror. I try to write it all, Mother, the fear, the sorrow, the small mercies, hoping that somehow through my words you might glimpse the truth of what it means to endure such days. The lads talk little of home, for each has his own demons, and yet sometimes, in hushed confessions by the flickering light of a candle, we share our memories. I have heard tales of gardens, of mothers cooking, of sweethearts waiting in distant towns. These stories, simple as they are, offer a strange hope, a reminder that beyond this wasteland lies life still worth living. And so we cling to these stories, as one might clutch a life preserver in a storm-tossed sea, and we face each day with whatever courage we can summon. Mother, I will not lie. There are nights when I pray to be spared, when I question why I, of all the lads, remain to see another sunrise. And yet, I write to you, clinging to the thought that my survival is bound to your prayers, and that one day, if I am spared, I shall return to the warmth of your embrace. Until that day, I endure, I persevere, and I remember that even in the darkest moments, a man's heart may still beat with love and loyalty. Pray for me, Mother, as I pray for you, and keep faith that I shall see you again, for in these letters, and in your love, I find the courage to face yet another day amidst the guns, the mud, and the ever-present shadow of death. I write to you with trembling hands, for today has been like no other, and I fear that no words can truly convey the terror that unfolded before my eyes. The morning broke with a bitter wind, and yet there was a strange calm, the sort of silence that sets a man's nerves on edge. We knew, without knowing, that the enemy was near, and that the world as we had known it might vanish with the first roar of their guns. The order came at dawn. Over the top. Those words, Mother, carry a weight no man can describe. To climb from the trench, to leave the mud that clings like a second skin, to step into the open and face the very maw of death. It is a horror I will not forget. I glanced around at my comrades, lads I have grown to know as brothers, and I saw fear reflected in their eyes, the same fear I felt gnawing at my own heart. Yet we obeyed, for in war, obedience is survival, or perhaps merely a pause before the inevitable. We rose, rifles clutched tightly, boots sinking into the sodden earth. The first shell screamed across the sky, striking the ground with a sound that shook the soul. Men fell instantly, their cries swallowed by the roar of the bombardment. I stumbled over the lifeless bodies of lads I had laughed with only hours before, my stomach heaving, my heart hammering as if to escape the terror surrounding us. It is a cruel irony, Mother, that in moments of sheer panic, one finds a strange clarity. The world has narrowed to the simple truth of survival, breath by breath, step by step. And yet, amid the chaos, there are moments that shine, fleeting as they may be. A comrade, struck and bleeding, turned to me and forced a grin, whispering, "Keep moving, lad. We'll see home yet." It is these words that sustain me, these tiny sparks of humanity in a land consumed by fire and mud. We pressed forward, each step a defiance against the death that sought to claim us, each heartbeat a testament to stubborn courage. The sky was a sickly shade of gray, churned with smoke and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Shells exploded around us, sending earth and debris into the air. I felt the sting of shrapnel, minor wounds that seemed trivial against the suffering of others, yet enough to remind me of my own fragility. I could hear men screaming, praying, cursing, voices that will haunt my dreams long after this letter reaches you. By the afternoon, the assault had ground to a halt, leaving devastation in its wake. Trenches once familiar were now graves. Friends who had shared bread, laughter, and dreams were gone, their absence a hollow ache that no comfort could soothe. I returned to the remnants of our trench, shaking, bleeding, yet alive, a cruel gift, one I scarcely wished to bear. Mother, I must end here, for the candle flickers, and the night grows cold. But know this, each day I endure, I cling to the hope of seeing you again, of feeling the warmth of your hand, the comfort of home. In these letters, I pour what remains of my courage and my love, and I pray that they reach you safely across this hellish distance. I scarcely know how to begin, for today has taken a piece of my soul that I fear may never return. The days blend together here, yet some moments are etched upon the heart with a sharpness that no passage of time can dull. I write to you now with a heavy hand, the ink trembling as my own hands tremble, for I have lost Thomas. My closest friend, my companion in the mud and the mire, now lies silent beneath the cold earth, and the emptiness he leaves behind is a weight that I cannot lift. We had shared many things, Mother, small comforts in this accursed place, a joke whispered in the dark, a shared crust of bread, a tale of home to lift spirits. He was ever so brave, masking his fear with a grin that I envied. And today, when the order came to move forward into no man's land, I saw that same courage shine as he pushed onward beside me. And then, as the shelling began, as the world tore itself apart with fire and smoke, I lost him. One moment he was there, steady and strong, and the next he was gone, swallowed by the earth, by fate, by war. The guilt gnaws at me, Mother. I question whether I could have acted differently, whether I might have shielded him, even as I know that in this place, shielding oneself is often impossible. I saw the look on his face, a flash of fear and defiance, and it is etched into my memory like a cruel photograph. I clutch it now, unable to let it go, unable to release him from my mind, and yet I must, for the living cannot linger upon the dead without being consumed themselves. Our trenches are a scar upon the land, Mother, a maze of mud and blood and despair. I wander them now, half stumbling, half crawling, my boots weighed down by the mire and the memories of those who will never rise again. The others, Brave lads all, speak little of Thomas, though I see it in their eyes, the same hollow ache that grips my heart. We are bound together by grief, by fear, and by the stubborn determination to survive yet another day in this inferno. At night, when the bombardment ceases and a ghostly silence falls over the trenches, I think of home, I think of you, of the smell of your kitchen, of the warmth of our hearth. It is a comfort, though fragile, and I cling to it with desperation. I imagine Thomas beside me, alive, laughing at some triviality, and the ache in my chest grows unbearable. Yet I write, Mother, for if I do not, I fear the sorrow will consume me entirely. I must steel myself for tomorrow, for the world does not pause for grief, and war shows no mercy. I carry Thomas with me, in my heart, in my memories, in every trembling breath I take, and I cling to the hope that someday, when this madness ends, I may speak his name aloud in a place of peace, and not in the mud and the blood of a battlefield. Pray for us both, Mother, for I fear that without your prayers, I may falter beneath the weight of all that I have seen, and yet I endure, I persevere, and I cling to the hope of returning to you, the last remnant of the world that is still safe, still pure, still ours. I write to you tonight with hands still trembling and heart still racing, for today I came closer to death than I ever thought possible. The morning began as usual, with the mud clinging to our boots and the bitter wind cutting through our uniforms. Yet by mid-morning, the world had transformed into a theater of horror I could scarcely comprehend. A shell landed mere paces from where I had crouched, and for a moment, I was certain my life had ended. The explosion tore through the air, and I remember thinking, almost detachedly, how strange it would be to vanish so suddenly, to leave behind everything, everyone I love, without warning. Thomas was beside me, as he had always been, but fate was crueler to him than to me. He was struck, Mother, and I could do nothing but clutch his hand and watch as life ebbed from his eyes. His last glance was one of reassurance, as if to tell me to survive, to carry on, though my own courage nearly faltered. The trenches around us became a maze of chaos, mud and smoke blinding my vision, the cries of men mingling with the constant roar of artillery. It is a symphony of despair, Mother, one that no mortal should be forced to hear. As I crawled away, my body bruised and trembling, I thought of home. I thought of you, of your hands, warm and steady, guiding me through childhood fears, and I realized that memory itself can serve as armor. In those moments, I clung to hope, as one might cling to a rope, dangling over a precipice, fragile, yet vital. The lads around me did the same, each silently wrestling with the knowledge that the next step could be their last. We were alive, yes, but barely, and the shadow of the fallen weighed upon our spirits like lead. I am beginning to understand the true cost of this war, Mother. It is not the sound of gunfire, nor the mud, nor the stench of blood. It is the erosion of the soul, the constant gnawing awareness that death could claim you at any instant. And yet, even as terror coils around my heart, there is a strange clarity that emerges. Life, in its simplest form, becomes a treasure more precious than any riches, more beautiful than any song. I do not wish to squander it, nor to waste it in despair. At night, when the bombardment ceases and a fragile calm descends upon the trenches, I sit and write to you, clinging to the hope that my words will traverse the distance between us. I pray that they reach you safe, that they convey not only the horrors I endure, but also the love I carry, the memory of home, the determination to survive. Each day I endure, Mother. I cling to the thought of your face, of your embrace, of a world beyond this madness. Do not fear for me unduly, Mother, though I know it is natural to worry. I am still here, still breathing, still clinging to life despite all that surrounds me. And I shall continue to cling until I can once again feel the warmth of home and the comfort of your arms. Until that day, I endure, I survive, and I carry the memory of those lost with every step I take. I write to you now with a heart heavy and weary, yet somehow still clinging to the fragile thread of hope that has carried me through these long, dreadful months. The war, Mother, has stripped us bare of all illusions. I have seen men I loved and trusted fall beside me, have smelled the smoke and iron that lingers even in dreams, have felt the mud of 1,000 graves cling to my boots, and yet here I am, still alive, still able to write these words to you. I cannot tell you how miraculous it feels to simply breathe without the constant threat of death pressing upon me. The trenches are quieter now, if only for a moment. The roar of shells and gunfire has faded, leaving an eerie stillness that seems almost unnatural. I walk through the remnants of our once familiar lines, and the sight of empty boots and scattered helmets reminds me of the friends who will never return. Thomas and so many others, their faces etched upon my mind, haunt my every thought. The weight of their absence is a burden I carry silently, for words cannot contain it. And yet, it is this memory, bitter as it is, that drives me to endure. For I owe it to them to survive, to return home, to live in a world they will never see again. Mother, I have learned the cruelest truths here, but also the rarest mercies. I have seen courage in its rawest form, in lads trembling yet pressing forward, in men who laugh despite despair, in hearts that beat with love even amid ruin. I have felt fear so sharp it cuts to the bone, yet I have also felt hope so profound that it seems almost divine. I cling to that hope now, as one clings to a life-preserver in storm-tossed waters, and it is what allows me to write to you tonight, with a hand still trembling, yet a spirit determined to survive. I think often of home, Mother, the garden where I ran barefoot, the scent of your cooking, the warmth of the hearth, the sound of your laughter. These memories are my refuge, my armor against the despair that surrounds me. I imagine the day I shall return, the moment I step through the door and feel the comfort of your embrace. It is that vision, Mother, that sustains me through the long nights, through the endless mud, through the ever-present shadow of death. Though the world I have left behind in France is scarred and broken, I carry with me a small piece of beauty, a stubborn ember of life and love that refuses to be extinguished. I have learned that even amid horrors unspeakable, one can still find moments of grace, and it is these moments I hold close, like treasures hidden in the darkness. Pray for me, Mother, as I pray for you. Pray that the day will come when I can walk free of these trenches, unburdened by the weight of war, and return to the world we once knew, and know, above all, that I endure, I survive, and I carry you in my heart with every breath.